Let's talk Womentalk.
Hi, I'm Sher-Li, and this is a series about women returning to the workforce. In the previous episode, we had talked about the mindset shift required and the preparation before you embark on the job search process. Today, I'm going to share some elements that you should put in the resume that will allow you to get the job that you want. When you're coming back into the workforce, the kind of resume that you're writing is what we call an employer-led resume. So when you want to prepare the resume, the first thing you need to think about is what exactly would entice the employer to want to hire you. The way you write your resume and the way you write your cover letter as well will be more directed to what I can offer you as an employee as opposed to this is who I am, take it or leave it, right? So for people who are coming back, I always say do a little bit of a career summary, explaining that you took a period of time off, and you're coming back now, and what are you being able to offer the employer. Another element of employer-centric resume means that you know what the employer wants. Look at the job description. They will mention what the duties of the job are. I must show you somehow in my resume that my previous experience, I have these skills. Second thing is you look at the company, you look at the industry. If it's an MNC versus a small SME, there's a big difference. What will they need more of? So that's what I mean by really going to look at every job position, looking at every company and kind of designing your resume to suit it. You write the resume for the employer rather than it's to sell who I am and not think about who wants to read it. Social media is an interesting one because if you're like me, it never existed when I first came out of school. But the key thing is, what's interesting is social media, in a very clear-cut sense, obviously, is you use it as a platform to look for a job. But I think more importantly is social media also gives you the opportunity to show that you are relevant. I think if you think of social media as literally like your networking platform, but online and faster, then you actually see how it's very useful to you. This is very cliche, that it's about who you know versus what you know. And for someone with a career gap who's been away for a while, even more so. Being out there by telling people that, hey, I'm kind of on the search, on the lookout, I know what's going on. So I think if you see it that way rather than saying that, oh, I don't want to share about myself, you don't have to. You share an article, it's not sharing about yourself. It's sharing about the interest you have, or sharing about the skill sets that you have, or the interactions that you have. Honesty is the best policy is a very tricky thing actually when it comes to people with a career gap and in their resume. Part of the reason for this is because you want to be honest and you're afraid that the person has a bias against someone who has a career gap. But rather than say that I'm going to try to hide it, if you come forward, right, and say that I know that there's a career gap and I acknowledge that maybe you have a bias as an interviewer, but guess what? During the period of time, I discovered many things about myself. You control or you dominate the job search process rather than it's always you have a bias and I'm going to not be honest with you, so let's play this hiding game. It doesn't work in the long run. Just to recap, some of the key things you should think about before you start writing your resume is firstly, making it very employer-centric. Second thing is also addressing the career gap in an honest way, but without focusing on the fact that it's a liability and rather how it's an asset. And thirdly is the mindset shift that we talked about earlier on, about how, before even applying, really going out there and saying, I'm going to go out there and tell people that I'm looking for a job, being on social media. So these are the three basic things you should think about before you start on the resume writing. Today I have shared with you some useful tips that you can put into your resume. In the next episode, I'll be talking about the really scary part of interviews and how to do well in them. So see you next time.